up, guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. We're coming off of Thanksgiving, and our members and experts had a ton to be thankful for last week. Let's get to the winners. In the NBA streets, Ash Frank NFL won $1,500. NYG fan used AP's heat map to win $1,800. D-Rex26 hit for $4,500, and new subscriber Tom hit for $15K. Burr PBC shipped for $33K, while the Man 11 had yet another huge payday, shipping for $100,000. RPS continues to dominate all sports, including World Cup soccer. Our team has been crushing it with the content, and we have the receipts to prove it. Go Boys 18 hit for $1K. New member Wes Ray won over $1,300. Jaime's content helped Poker Pastor get through a tough time, hitting for $2K. Big T won over $20K. Rubio's hard work grinding out soccer content paid off with a $20K shipper. While the biggest winner was RPS member Eddie, who turned $500 into over $30,000. Our NFL content has been on fire all season, and we didn't let the Thanksgiving holiday slow us down. We have plenty of free content available on our YouTube channel daily, so make sure to subscribe right now to access the winners. DK for 5 hit big on Thanksgiving, winning $10K. C Jacobs 986 joined him, shipping for $15K. On the main slate, Racing Jason 910 hit for over $6K. LT Dog 24 shipped for $50K, while my own heater continued, winning my first FFWCC. For Showdown, our guy Hoop was a big winner, shipping for over $100K across sites. He used his core plays laid out for our premium members, including a low-owned Jelani Woods, who ended up breaking the slate. Shout out to YGuy223, who won over $9K as well. Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in the Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. And while you're watching, hit that like button now. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Till next time, let's keep running pure.
What's going on, everyone? AP over here at Run Pure Sports, bringing to you the lineup building show with our partners over at Sabersim. We got Jordan in here like we do each and every week to break it down with us. We got a nice game tonight between the Patriots and the Bills. Jordan, let's bring you in, man. How's it going today on this fine Thursday?
It's good. Got another football game here tonight. Excited to break it down, talk about it a little bit. We'll be going through the process we've been talking about here for the past couple of weeks. I think, it's a pretty good system. I've kind of incorporated some of the stuff that we've done on this show into my personal process every slate here now. So excited to talk about this one. We've also got a new feature that landed this week on the app. We shipped it earlier this week, a couple of days ago. So we'll get to talk about that a little bit. But yeah, excited to be here. Excited to get into it.
Yeah, I got to give a quick shout out real quick. Our guys, Jaime, Rubio, are just doing a fantastic job crushing World Cup content. Big T has shipped twice. I think Rubio shipped. I'm trying to think. There was a couple other members who also shipped. Those guys are crushing it. The World Cup is still going on. The slates are a ton of fun. I was surprised, Jordan, at like how fun, like how good of a sweat it is. I mean, I donate, I dabble in the soccer streets. It's very competitive, but I do feel we have two of the best in the industry. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to everyone who's been crushing with that as well. If you haven't yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Helps us out a lot. We're doing this free each and every week, and I feel like we've done a good job. We got a really nice slate tonight with big prizes over on DraftKings and FanDuel for the Showdown slate. Like I said, between the Bills and Patriots. Let's try. Let's bring. So how we do it? If you're new to the show, we're always going to start out with our base build, so we can use the cash settings. Jordan, let me kick it over to you. Let's get that base build going and talk to me about what you're seeing at a high level for this slate tonight.
Yeah, so we always like to start with this build. I think what's really valuable about this, you're using Sabersim like any other optimizer here. You're just optimizing the top lineups by projected score, right? And why this is valuable in Showdown in particular, this is how most people are going to be building their lineups, right? Most people don't have access to play-by-play game simulations and game scripts like we do at Sabersim. So they're going into a normal optimizer and building the cash optimals. And this gives you an idea of where the chalk's going to be, right? What the popular constructions are going to be, who's going to be the most likely players in the captain spot. Starts to give us an idea of how we can get a little bit different or leverage the field in that way. So I like to do this. We'll pull this up. We got the top 500 cash optimals here. And you can see, and this kind of checks out with what I was expecting here right off the bat. 85, 90% ish of the top 500 cash optimals are going to be soaked up with Josh Allen and Ramondre Stevenson captain, right? Josh Allen, obviously always going to be a highly projected guy on a showdown slate. Damian Harris is out again. We saw monster usage from Ramondre Stevenson earlier this season when he was out. So he's getting 34% there. We can also take a quick look over at stack types and kind of see what constructions people are getting to. 4 2s and 3 3s being very overwhelmingly popular here for the cash builds tonight. And actually, and a bit of a surprise here, and why I like to do this, I think this is a good thing to do. Those 4 2s are actually a little bit more heavily focused on the Patriots side rather than the Bills side. So it seems like balance builds, Ramondre Stevenson, Josh Allen captain type builds with a little bit more of a lean towards the Patriots side on those overweight stacks. Probably what I'm expecting here is because the Patriots have the value in this game. So that's what we're seeing here. I actually, on that note, I think this is a really interesting example of where sometimes the spread or the total of the game can mislead you if you're trying to predict what's going to be popular. That those Patriot stacks are coming up mostly because we have a cheap 200 salary JJ Taylor, who's expected to get a couple points, get a little bit of usage, probably again with Damian Harris being out. We've got cheap tight ends for the Patriots here. So you get the situation where we've actually got the underdog in this game, the home dog, who's going to be the more popular stacked construction because of the value that they open up. So that's typically what I'm looking at here for that first cash build.
Yeah, I think, when you go back to captains there, I do think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it does seem like a slate where there's a high probability of Josh Allen being an optimal, captain, because here's how I see it. So the Patriots have been very good against the pass, have one of the best corners in the league. And they just are fundamentally sound on defense. And when you get a guy like Josh Allen in these situations, you're going to see him use his legs a lot more. And so I see him while they might have a spy and stuff, on him, I see him getting to edges, taking the yards if they're going to give it to him, in this game. So while getting the ball down the field to Steph Diggs and Gabe Davis might be kind of difficult, I think the thought that he will have to use his legs here too is going to increase his floor. Jordan, I think there's a lot of fun construction. So we've done some in the past, like Chiefs slates, Chargers, where maybe the distribution is a little bit more unpredictable. Tonight, I feel like we can set some rules. We can do a lot of different things to manipulate it from a high, level without really messing with the projections too much, that's what going to be one thing that's really interesting for me, like a Josh Allen captain build plus, multiple pieces, like running it back with multiple pieces from the Patriots. So from a correlation standpoint, I see this being a slate potentially where we can get different. A big part of it too will be finding some value pieces to make it work because, Allen, obviously 18,300, obviously the biggest, expense there, but we can build in some rules. We don't have to, knowing that he's going to have to most likely use his legs here. We don't have to necessarily pair him with the most expensive receiver in Gabe Davis. So I think it's going to be a fun slate to build some rules around. Can we do one thing too? So we had the cash settings without touching anything. Now can we do our tournament settings?
Absolutely.
Just to see how different we were. So what the cash settings had, I believe, I ran it actually right before the show too. I had Ramondre and Josh Allen and then Jacoby Myers as the highest. Is that what you had?
For the cash settings, yeah. And okay. It looked like it was Josh Allen, Ramondre Stevenson, and then a big drop off to Jacoby Myers, Stephon Diggs showing up as that kind of next guy there. It does seem like the cash build is thinking that those first two guys are going to be by far the most popular captains. But yeah, I think this is a good idea. Let's build this tournament build now. What this is doing, that's different than the cash build, right? Is this is actually going into our play-by-play sim database of this game, and it's building the actual highest scoring optimal for individual game simulation. So, it's taking the game script where we get a lower scoring, 17-13 type game and building that optimal and throwing that in the pool. And then you're getting the Bills win this game 42-10 sim. That's going in there. You're getting the upset, right? The Patriots win the game 28-24, something like that. Just throwing out numbers here. That's going in the sim, right? We're doing this 1,500 times. And that's going to build out basically a range of outcomes here for tournament lineups of what's possible on this slate. So this is how I start my showdown process every night. I run that cash build, get an idea of what the field's going to do, run the GPP build, get the idea of what the sim's like, and then we can start adding some value here and making some adjustments. So, and you'll see right off the bat, a much wider pool of captains show up in the GPP build because there's a lot more wide range of outcomes here. And you'll see some different names showing up, right? Ramondre Stevenson's still showing up a lot, but we actually get a little Mac Jones going on here, Jacoby Myers, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, some of these cheaper pass catchers showing up as optimal in some of these sims, and you can start to get an idea of how this breaks out here.
Yeah, very good. We did have shout out to a couple of people in the chat. Mike Carr, he said Faxman says stack the Pats. I saw that last night too. I'm with you. So that's going to be a route that we can use in the show and use into our narrative for producing lineups today. We got Sko Ducks DFS in the chat. Maridon Yeezy, what's going on, my guy? Sko Ducks did have a question. Do you recommend full fade on higher projected people in Showdown? ? Or just limit exposures in 150 formats? Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting. I think it kind of depends on the situation. One thing that I like to use, so we ran this build here, and you can use this pool exposure. This column is basically going to say, how often is this player showing up in the captain spot in that entire pool, right? And I like to compare this against the ownership or what I think the ownership is going to be. And, so let's look at Josh Allen here, right? So let's look at the two chalkiest guys from the cash build. So Josh Allen's showing up as the optimal captain only 15% of the time in the sims. We think he's going to be owned 22% of the time as captain. I think that could be higher. On the flip side, Ramondre Stevenson, 17% captain. He's actually showing up as optimal 28%. So I might be more comfortable with the idea of like a full fade of Josh Allen on this, because I actually think, that maybe he's going to be a little bit over-owned there. On a guy like Ramondre Stevenson, I would still be fine getting a little bit under the field, but I don't know if I'd be as comfortable with a full fade because he's actually showing up as optimal more in the sims than I think the field might own him, even if he is the second most popular captain. So I typically like to handle that on kind of a slate by slate basis. I'll use the ownership, I'll use the pool exposure and kind of make a decision, on how I want to handle in those individual situations. But AP, I know that, we play a little bit differently in terms of I like to get a little bit more diverse, have a wider pool. I'm sure you're more than willing to take some of those big stands when you see an edge there.
Yeah, my thing, so we do have different styles, but there's so many different ways to get to the top, so I like your style. I really respect it. I think it's one that a lot of people use and are very successful. My style, I just know if I get the script wrong, it's not going to be a good night. So for me, it's a lot of bankroll management. It's just knowing that if I stick with it over time, everything's going to align. And when I'm trying to hit big. So when I look at this slate, so it does seem, so one thing I like to do right out of the gate. So when we have, 16 captains, would you realistically ever run? So if you're running 150, I guess, would you leave 16 captains in there? And would you be fine with that? Or would you try to narrow it down just a little bit?
I would probably do some narrowing it down. One thing that I do like to do a little bit of trimming, and I would probably do this on the home screen before running the build, is I do like to X out some of these very low projected guys, JJ Taylor, Tyquan Thornton, low salary, low projected guys. They're showing up here occasionally, right? We see, 5 sims out of 1,500 where JJ Taylor is the optimal captain. There's a game script in our database where this outcome makes sense. But because there's just so few lineups that you can build with that kind of construction, that's most of the time, most of the trimming that I'll do is I'll get rid of some of those lower projected guys in there. So, I mean, I would probably be pretty comfortable in the 8 to 12 captain range for 150. 16 is probably a little high. I'd trim off a couple of those names, but I'm pretty comfortable being pretty spread out on my captain exposure.
So, and I fully understand that, especially on a slate where you get these top dogs like your Josh Allens, your Patrick Mahomes, your Travis Kelce, your guys that are going to dominate captain ownership. I do think it can make sense to open up your pool. Like we talked about, we're a little different. I always have a goal of trying to get about, narrowing it down to 5 captains. And then depending on the slate, every slate is different. I could narrow it down further. So like when I look at how like the texture of this slate and how the game flow it could project to go, and when I look at these two teams and where production is going to come from the Buffalo side and then the Patriots side, I'm like, okay, I'm getting no matter what, I'm getting 100% exposure to Josh Allen. I think his floor is too big. He can rush one in. He can throw for. It's just the combination there. His path to success in the captain spot or flex, but mainly the captain, since that's what we're trying to identify right now, I think is very, very, very high. Especially even in like a lower scoring game, because if we get a lower scoring game, that his floor is really going to put him over the top, unless it's like a game where we get 4 or 5 field goals or something crazy like we've seen in the past. I don't see this being the spot where that happens. I see this being the spot where throughout the game, Josh Allen just, starts racking up yards on the ground, where he maybe slings it around a little bit too. I like the backup running back from Buffalo here. I like James Cook a little bit. I would like to so if we're going off the Faxman script from yesterday that we saw on on his video, if the Bills were playing from behind, I mean, Nyheim Hines, we haven't seen much from him though. So it's very fringe, but it is Showdown. So I'm not limiting him, or I can't even talk right now, or removing him from my pool. But I do like James Cook a little bit more. What I was talking about from a rule standpoint, with what the Patriots like to do on defense, one rule I like, and I don't do this very often, I think it's a slate by slate thing, but I like having a rule, Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis. So, and it's mainly the separator between those two, because if the Patriots try to take, Stephon Diggs away, I think he's going to have the tougher matchup. It could open up things for Gabe Davis. I know wide receiver 2s have had success against the Patriots. So, and then just looking at what this defense does or has done throughout the year, it is really impressive how they've limited wide receivers. So I want to create those little rules to create some separation there and to make, to give some definition to our lineups. Isaiah McKenzie, I think he could factor into the mix as well. And then we haven't even got to the Patriots side. So should we go back and start to make some rules? I guess I wasn't watching what you were doing behind the scenes when I was rambling there, Jordan.
Yeah.
But should we start making some rules and narrowing this thing down?
Yeah, I think it's a good point to do that. While you were talking, I was kind of going along and doing that. So one of the rules that I added here, and I want to make sure I understood you correctly here, but I basically said to use exactly one player with Diggs, Gabe Davis in both the captain and the flex. So basically making sure we always have at least one of those pass catchers in every single lineup. Is that what you meant by that? Or did you want to do no more than?
No, I meant, one or the other.
Okay.
And you could even have lineups where you don't have one of them in there.
Okay. Gotcha. So then we'll do, So in this
I
case,
think it's a slate. Yeah. I think ideally, yeah. Do we want one of Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, Stephon Diggs in there with Josh Allen? Ideally, yes, we want that, but it's Showdown. What if Allen runs one in? What if James Cook, what if we got that script where, they get Cook a little bit more involved. He looked good last week. Maybe they start, really trying to integrate him a little bit more. You could have an Allen captain, Cook, and then load up with 4 Patriots, side stack. So while I do want that correlation with his receivers, I don't want to make it a rule to take away from the fact that we could get some Josh Allen, not naked, but Josh Allen, no receivers in the flex, and maybe like a James Cook or even like a Dawson Knox or something like that. But so mainly it's the rule between Diggs and Davis is what I was looking at. Now I'm trying to look at the Patriots side. Do you have any takes on the Patriots side, what you're seeing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think maybe one of the more interesting angles here is the Jacoby Myers situation. It sounds like he's going to play. I was doing a little bit of research here before the start of the show. He is questionable, a little banged up with the shoulder. I also think that the Patriots offense is one that's pretty willing to spread the ball out here. Devontae Parker's back here. You saw Hunter Henry being involved last week. Aguilar was involved. I mean, Kendrick, like all of these guys kind of just get involved week to week. Tyquan Thornton's 400, which might be a source of value here. He's a little bit of a deep threat there. I mean, basically, I feel like my main stance on the Patriots side here is that if Jacoby Myers does end up soaking up a fair bit of ownership, which you mentioned you were seeing him as your cash builds as the captain, it seems like he's kind of the field has decided he's the guy there. I like the fade side of that, and I might take just a couple shots on some of these other guys and just assume that the ball gets spread out a little bit more than the field expects.
One other rule, I like that, Jordan. One other rule. So just going off chat, shout out to a few mentions in there. We always get, I mean, man, our Discord, our people here in the Run Peer community and Sabersim community, really, really, really sharp people over here. Vinny, my guy, I like, I believe he was the one that kickers will be interesting tonight. These kickers look really good. Now, I haven't looked at the weather, but anytime, the game is in New England, right?
Yeah,
I believe it is. Yes, it is. I mean, so the thing is like if it was in Buffalo too, the weather always seems to be in question this time of the year. So that's going to be something I'm looking at. But if weather is not a factor, I love these kickers. Tyler Bass. So like if weather's not a factor, this is a game where I could see when I try to think of what does the winning optimal lineup look like at the end of the night, based off of, since I like a little bit more bias into my lineups, based off what I'm seeing, I could see one kicker in there. Like I think there's a high probability that one kicker ends up in there. So another rule that we could create is to make sure each lineup has a kicker. So I'm not saying we're maxing, locking in double kicker builds. I'm just saying every lineup has a kicker. That's a rule that we could definitely consider. Do you have any thoughts on kickers tonight or the weather?
Yeah,
I mean, looked at it since I haven't. Maybe someone in the chat can help us out with the weather.
The weather looks pretty good to me. I was taking a quick look here. I mean, it's going to be cold, but no wind or light wind. I mean, it looks like a cold November, December now day in Foxborough, but no wind, which I think is kind of the main concern. No precipitation there. So, I mean, I'm fine with that. I bumped those guys up a little bit on the projections as well. Set a rule to make sure we're getting at least one kicker in every lineup, and we can see how those are looking.
Like another thing too, just so you gotta, I had to look it up because I knew the Patriots right now, just from writing one of the Showdown articles on a slate that they were on. They got one of the better corners this year. Jonathan Jones is now. I couldn't remember it initially, but this dude has been a stud all season long. So I think he's going to get. You got to think he gives Diggs the treatment. I believe, and again, Chad, I could be wrong, but I believe he was good at limiting like Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill is another. I think one other good, elite wide receiver one as well. But so what I'm getting at is that could lower Diggs' ownership. And again, if we could get a guy like Stephon Diggs at lower ownership because people are worried about the matchup, I mean, I'm going to always side with the receiver if they're on an island with a cornerback. I don't care how good that cornerback is. If it's a talented guy like Stephon Diggs, I'm always going to just side on that matchup if it's one to where it's going to impact ownership. And I think this is one that could impact ownership tonight, since people are going to be a little bit worried about the secondary here of the Patriots. So that goes right into, we could play on more of like an overscript too. You were kind of, we were talking behind the scenes before the show started. I believe you were surprised at the total here. Seemed a little bit light. So, I mean, we could play on kind of an overscript too. That's something that I always like to do as well. What do you think about that tonight? And how do you see like an overs type of script playing out?
Yeah, I mean, so I just at first glance, the 23.5, 23.6 that we have here just surprised me, stuck out here for the Bills side. I think it's a little bit a team that people have gotten a little bit down on in the past couple of weeks. I know Josh Allen has kind of been dealing with the elbow injury, but still a high-powered offense, a lot of playmakers on this team. my first glance when I looked at the total is I thought, yeah, it has to be some weather concerns here going on tonight. And there really aren't. So, I mean, I think there's absolutely an avenue for this game to, I mean, not even to shoot out, but definitely to just go over and, get some of these other pass catchers involved in the game. So I like that angle. One thing you can do with that, if we wanted to here, is just give even if it's just kind of a light touch to the Bills total here, I think is kind of the side that I like a little bit more there. Apply that to the game. And then we'll go into the Sims behind the scenes here and basically give everybody a little bit of a boost on that Bills side based on what they get in the Sims where their total's a little bit higher. So I think that's an interesting angle here as well. I kind of like that.
The other thing too, I like with the Patriots, when you think of like how the script could play out, there's a lot more uncertainty, I think, with the different pieces, like Nelson Aguilar coming off a really good game, Hunter Henry coming off a good game. The game before that, I believe it was Jonnu Smith, who they were giving like rush attempts to, along with his targets. So this Patriots team is one that likes to involve multiple pieces. We know Ramondre Stevenson's going to be the guy to get the bulk of the work here, obviously. You mentioned JJ Taylor could mix in too. I like that with Damian Harris out. And then Jacoby Myers looks, limited in practice, like you mentioned, looks like he's going to play. So, I mean, a fairly healthy Patriots team that's clicking right now. It's really impressive. I think what they're doing. I thought it was going to be kind of a throwaway season for New England, but not the case at all. They've been just playing fundamentally sound football, taking care of the football, not turning it over, et cetera. And they're doing that on the heels of Ramondre and then targeting Jacoby Myers. But again, like Nelson Aguilar looked good last week. And then you got Jonnu Smith that could work into the mix, and then Hunter Henry too. And then I would love to see more Tyquan Thornton. They're not using him that much, and really it's just you're talking one game this season where he did anything. I mean, is that too thin of a play like in Showdown, or are we keeping him in the pool today?
I would absolutely keep him in the pool, at least at flex. I like, in general, when I'm going to play value plays, when I'm going to, take shots on really low salary guys, I think the wide receiver position is my favorite place to do that, just because really, you're talking about one or two broken plays, and that guy's in the optimal, especially, for a team that has a 20-point total in the Sims. Right. I mean, the scoring expectation overall isn't that high. So, I mean, legitimately, one deep ball and he's optimal there. And we've seen that flash this season. So I like him too. Like as a prospect, I'm pretty excited about Tyquan Thornton in general. So I'm definitely fine leaving him in there.
It was funny. The last time that I can't even remember the play that I had, but the last time, so the last time that the Patriots played was Minnesota, right, on Thanksgiving. And my wife, so we all like to bet, like the family, we're all getting together Thanksgiving. We all do a blind draw, and we pick a player out. I can't remember who was the person that was picking them, but my wife drew Nelson Aguilar, and it was funny because I was like, oh, we're stone dead. The guy I had one catch all season. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm stone dead. And everyone puts in 10 or it was 10 or 20 bucks into the pot. And Nelson Aguilar was he was the second touchdown scorer, but no one drew Justin Jefferson, who scored first. So my wife ended up collecting like 180 bucks. So she was all pumped. But Nelson, again, like you said, that was kind of a game to where he got that early touchdown, and then he ended up being a target monster. So that wouldn't surprise me too. With the different options from a receiver standpoint. So that's where I think the variance is going to come in as far as like target share goes, like Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Jacoby Myers, Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, I believe all could factor into the mix. And then deeper, like more thin plays, Kendrick Bourne, Tyquan Thornton, showdown formats only. We're not even talking about these guys, most of these guys on a main slate type of format. So, Jordan, are we to the point? Are we ready to rerun this? I've not been following
I've been following along here and making some updates as you've been talking. I mean, the one thing, I don't know if you want to adjust that captain pool at all. I think last time, or maybe a couple weeks ago, we kind of built out a little bit of a captain pool. Do you want to do that here?
Yeah, let's do that. So go. All right. So Josh Allen.
Okay.
Ramondre. look, like this might be this. Okay. Stephon Diggs. Man, these kickers, man, I almost want to include them just because both have been so good. This could be like a kicker captain slate. Like would James Cook be too thin? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I would say we should lean on the side of putting guys in if we're unsure, because again, worst case scenario, we're just going to get James Cook at the captain spot at the rate at which he shows optimal in the sim. So
Nelson Aguilar,
okay.
I would add too. And then just add Mac Jones, because like everyone's going to be on. So this is where I'm fine with it, because like when you look at ownership projections in the captain spot, Josh Allen compared to a guy like Mac Jones, it's going to be like Allen's going to be mega chalk, and no one is going to be playing Mac Jones in the captain. Now you want to puke when we think about playing Mac Jones in the captain, but it's Showdown. We're trying to win that 200, 300K up top. You got to get different sometimes. So I definitely would include, that would be playing on that over script that we talked about.
Right.
What does that leave us with? Like 7 to 4?
Yes, eight captains. Eight captains. But a few of these guys, we're not going to get too much of these guys here down below. So I think
add John O. Smith and me. I'm opening things up a little bit today.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a
John
good
O.
slate
Smith
for that. I mean,
well.
There's a lot of names here that stand out. I think it's a slate where I'm going to be I'm going to be pretty spread out with my captain exposure. So
let me just make sure I thought I saw a couple other, there's a bunch of questions, but there was one I thought that caught my eye. No, I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah, let's run this.
Keep an eye on it. But okay, perfect.
So we'll see what we're getting here. We have a limited captain pool. We adjust some of the projections a little bit. We bumped the Bills total up a little bit, and then set 2 rules. So max 1, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. And we're forcing a kicker into every lineup, at least one.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
Skodux asked, when you set a rule like use, quote, at least one kicker, does that mean you're getting a kicker in every lineup, or is it exactly that it gets you one in every lineup? So what I was trying to do is at least one. We can have 2 kickers in there, but I want at least one in every lineup. And I actually think, hindsight, I might change that a little bit. I think if when I'm all said and done, 70% of my lineups had one kicker. I think that sounds like the better route than just like if you're running 150, locking in one, at least one kicker. That might be more so the route I end up going. But I do think it's a good kicker slate. Both of these kickers, just pull up their box scores, man. They've both been absolutely crushing. Tyler Bass obviously coming off a couple monster games. He 6 field goals against the Browns, and what do you have? 2 last week, 2 extra points made, and then same with Nick Folk. Bill Belichick, he's going to take any points he can get. He's going to take points, especially against Josh Allen. So if they're in the red zone there, you're going to see Nick Folk heavily involved. And look at 4 field goals, 3, 4, 5 over the last 4 games. So kickers are definitely in play for me tonight.
Yeah, and on the Sabersim side, when you're making that rule, you can set the logic however you want. There's an option for at least, which is what we did here. We said we want to make sure we have at least one kicker in every lineup. You can also go ahead and change that and make that exactly if you want to make sure one, but only one. So whatever you want there. So we got our build pulled up here. We've got our captain pool. We've got our lineups over here. This is typically where I kind of like to do a little bit of quality control, a little bit of fine tuning, make sure that your exposures are actually working out the way that you want. So, one that immediately stands out to me, even in a limited captain pool, we're still actually coming in under the field on Josh Allen at captain. What are your thoughts about that? Are you comfortable taking that stance here, AP, or is that a guy that you definitely want to be over on in the captain spot tonight?
So I think from like a true floor, like when you just look at when you know the type of player he is, when you know what he's going to get us, maybe the right move is making sure you have 100% exposure. So that means locked in 100% between the captain and flex, but maybe you go under relative to the field, the projected, field, at the captain spot, an over at the flex spot. Maybe that's the move here. Open things up, play on a Patriots script, because if Patriots win script pans out, that means Josh Allen is struggling. He's still going to get his floor. He has one of the best floors out there for quarterbacks. If he struggles against this Patriot, maybe that's the route where he isn't optimal in that captain. Maybe that's where we see a Ramondre, optimal. Maybe it's something to where Stephon Diggs, like I don't mind Stephon Diggs in that captain spot. Maybe it's something where he is isolated on a one-on-one coverage and gets that, breaks one for, maybe 2 house calls or something like that. That's in the realm of possibilities. And then when you think about how good their pass defense is, I don't see like multiple Bills wide receivers, being optimal. I really do see it being like a Gabe Davis or Stephon Diggs, even Isaiah McKenzie, add that into the fact too. So I think it's just going to be, Allen's going to find what he can. He's going to take, I think he would be aggressive. And if he gets one-on-one coverage, he's going to try to take advantage of those situations, especially if it's Stephon Diggs. And then he's going to use his legs. And then it's, the run game too. And I like Cook just because it has to free up a lot. And, but probably more so of a flex play. So long story short, I don't actually mind opening up the captain pool a little bit here, Jordan. I might be more so on your side tonight with this slate than what I normally try to do. So can you go back to that captain pool real quick?
Yeah, real quickly. I do just want to show this off. People ask this all the time. So you said you want 100% Josh Allen in your lineups, but you don't care the allocation between captain and flex. How do we do that? You can set a rule to do that and basically say you must use exactly one player of Josh Allen captain and Josh Allen flex. So we would obviously have to do a new build here to do that. I'm not going to do that right now just to save the time. But if you set that, I know it's kind of a weird rule because, Josh Allen is Josh Allen, right? But he's technically a different player, whether he's in the captain or the flex in the builder's mind. So you can set that rule and make sure you get that there. That question comes in a lot on our side as well. So just wanted to show that off. But yeah, we got our captain pool back up. We got our lineups back up here.
So yeah, Ramondre dominating, and then our 2 kickers in there.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I know it does take a lot for kickers to be optimal, but just looking at this total, looking at where points are going to come from, if it's like a 23-20 type of game, which Vegas thinks it's going to be, it's fair to say that we're going to get 2, 3, 4 field goal attempts from either side, maybe both sides. So I don't know. Maybe it is I'm not the biggest kicker in the captain type of player, but it does seem like a spot where if the weather is good, that could make a lot of sense. And then it's going straight to the playmakers. And then, I do like, what did the Jonnu Smith, this is what I wanted to see. The Jonnu, so he's 20, he's our cheapest captain. I'm really curious to see so that's going to get you Diggs, both double quarterbacks, Ramondre, and a kicker. So that's playing on, like, we want points in that type of script, I believe. And, especially with that double quarterback. So if what you need, and then think about, all right, if you're running that, what do you need to happen for that to be optimal? I mean, you're going to need a touchdown out of Jonnu Smith, but that obviously is in the realm of possibilities. If he's getting the targets, he had that 1 rush attempt, but I think he fumbled. So I don't hate it. It is kind of thin, but I don't hate it. And then the kickers too, man, if a kicker being optimal in the captain spot, you want points, but you obviously don't want touchdown points. You want points coming from those kickers. And we've seen multiple games this season pan out like that. So man, Jordan, I don't know. I think I'm fine. How often are we getting so a kicker and the captain, and then so double kicker?
Yeah. So for our Tyler Bass lineups here, it looks like we've also basically got him paired with Nick Folk in 20%. Yeah.
Okay.
We could also go and check here. Let's see the other way, because we got some Nick Folk ones as well. So Folk with doesn't look like there's any where Folk captain is paired. Yeah. So there's none here. At least in our first pool. So not a lot of double kicker showing up here. That could be something. I think probably the easiest way if we wanted to get more of that would be to give just both of those guys a bigger projection boost in the home screen and just let those show up a little bit more organically, but mostly single kicker here. Can
we do one last thing? And then we do got to get out of here. But All right. Can you go back to the home?
Yep.
And then reset the settings. So start over. I always like doing this. So we show people it's that little red button there. Reset the settings. Take away the rules too if you can.
Yep. So they'll be disabled by default when we reset.
Okay, perfect. And then go to the team totals like we do.
Yeah.
Let's move Buffalo to 17. And then let's move the Patriots to 23. So just playing on kind of a different script here where the Patriots steal one. You know, I do think it'll be tougher for them to steal one. I mean, this Bills defense is getting healthier. I believe they have Tre'Davious White back. I think it was back last week too, but probably not fully 100% last week. So you got to think he's going to be getting better. Poyer's back there too, Milano. So, I mean, their defense is definitely going to be getting better, but maybe the Patriots steal one here playing on, you know, the script that we were talking about earlier. What do these lineups look like? I'm just curious to see, kind of running that base build, but just manipulating the team total, the projected team totals to create kind of a Patriots win script.
Yeah, let's build these. And honestly, adjusting the team totals, I think is got to be one of the coolest features that you can do in Sabersim, especially if you like to play Showdown that way, where you're kind of picking the game outcome or picking the game script that you want to target. You can just go in and enter that, and we'll use the Sims basically to adjust all of the individual players, right? I think that's one of the hard parts about playing NFL Showdown with that strategy with other like tools out there is you can come up with the script yourself, but then you have to make all the adjustments to every player to kind of factor that in. It's easy to mess something up, or if you don't know how the teams play perfectly, it's hard to do that. Sabersim's handling all of that for you. All you have to do is really just say what script you're playing. So, and I like this angle too, right? I mean, the Patriots have kind of been surprising this year overall. The AFC East, just in general, kind of a juggernaut. Yeah. So I like the idea of playing an angle where they come out and win this game, especially because, you know, one thing that stands out to me is when we ran that first GPP build here, we saw Ramondre Stevenson as the second chalkiest captain was actually looking a little under-owned, and Josh Allen looked really over-owned. And I think this angle kind of feeds into that a little bit, where we're potentially playing the side of this game here that the Sims like a little bit. So we'll give this just a second. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one other thing, just thinking back to when you look at the different stacks or the stack types from all the builds that were being produced, there's going to be a lot of 3-3s, a lot of 4-2s. The one other thing that I'm going to look at, you know, before tonight when we're locking things in, I want to see what these onslaught stacks look like. Like, would any of us be surprised if the Bills just woke up, finally everything was clicking, and they just blew this Patriots team out? I don't think I would be. That wouldn't like surprise me at all. So I'm going to look at what those onslaught stacks look like just to see. But then you could do it from the other side too. I do think it's a slate where looking at your 5-1s from either side it could be interesting, because maybe like the Bills just haven't looked right. But I don't think any of us would be surprised if they change that. So looking at this now, it looks like we're getting, it's still a big captain pool, which is perfectly fine.
And we can,
you know, for
this
this
up here a little bit.
Yeah, we're more looking at what does it look like when we adjust those team totals, which is impacting the projections and creating more of a script where the Patriots win. And right there, that first build makes a lot of sense. Ramondre, you have Mac Jones in there, and we're fading Josh Allen in that build. That's going to be highly, highly contrarian. You know, likely that is going to be a route if you're focused on uniques and getting different. Fading Josh Allen is going to immediately make you different on the slate. I can promise you that. So if that's what you want to do and you want to bet on, you know, something, you know, crazy kind of happen, that's going to be the route. Looking at the kickers there too. I'm curious also if the Patriots defense landed in our player pool. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we actually have one captain in the top 50 here. And then, 28% here in the flex spot. So they are showing up.
Yeah, and our guy, Vinny, 5-1 is one that rarely wins too. Yeah. So, I mean, if you look at, I was tracking this early. I still have to update kind of my back end data on that. But I believe 4-2 is leading the way this season, followed by 3-3s. And then there have been multiple 5-1 winners too. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities to see a 5-1 win, especially when you're talking about like the Patriots or the Bills, if they, you know, get things clicking. So again, that's more you're hunting for uniques And but yeah, it does seem like a good 3-3, a good 4-2 type of night. It might be a night where I incorporate all three types. And even though I do like to condense things down just a little bit. So these Patriots onslaught stacks look a little bit thin, but I mean, who knows?
And I'll put it this way too. Like we adjusted the game total here to 23-17, right? So we're not playing the Patriots blow out the Bills, right? We're playing that they win a relatively close game, right? A game decided by a touchdown, and we're getting 28% Patriots 5 stacks, and we're only getting 58% Josh Allen. So I think you can kind of use it that way a little bit too, of just seeing like, what is the game script that we entered into the app, and then what is the Sims coming back with? Like I am somewhat talking myself into being under on Josh Allen, because it doesn't seem like 23-17 is that far out of the realm of possibilities. And when you get there, like he comes down quite a bit. We're getting no captain. I mean, it's easy to talk yourself into, I think, like, even if the Patriots win, Josh Allen flex has to be optimal. But the Sims are telling us, hey, at 12-2 in the flex spot, even maybe he doesn't. So I think it's interesting here. I'm actually glad we ran this build, because I kind of like this angle.
Yeah. So Vinny in chat, no, 5-1 has won. I know for a fact it's won at least twice this season alone. Could be a little bit more. I got to update my research on that. You can go back and look at all the optimal builds if you want. But yeah, 5-1's definitely been in play this season for sure. 3-3 4-2s being the most optimal, the optimal route the most of the time. So Jordan, this was all really good.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we have a lot of so tonight is showdown night. NBA one game, NFL is going to be the premier game as well. So make sure we're going to have content out for both. We got the Print Factory coming out later this afternoon. Tambo, JSU, BigT, all breaking it down. They do a fantastic job. Have to be a member to do that. Then we'll have the playbook up. We'll have the core plays up for NBA and NFL tonight. So a lot of content. Any final thoughts? And then we got to get out of here, Jordan.
No, I'm excited for this slate. Fun night of showdowns. I'll probably dabble in that NBA showdown as well. No real final thoughts from me. I think this is probably my favorite build that we ran here. I like this Patriots win angle now that I've looked at it a little bit closer.
Yeah, I like that too. I know the Facts Man over at Rumpier Bets is on it too. So that's going to be one that I'm considering a little bit more. So good stuff, Jordan. As always appreciate it breaking it down with you. If you haven't yet, hit that like. It helps us out a ton. Hit the subscribe button. That also helps us out over here at Run Pure Sports. I'm AP. That's Jordan. Simon, get us out of here.